1, 2, 3. I've been running from the pain, trying not to feel the same, but it's a shame that we miss again. See, my confidence is shaking and my heart is feeling vacant, so you tried to fill it in. You said I could fix the broken in your heart, you would save and die.
Our planet diverse, thriving ecosystems may seem like permanent fixtures, but they're actually vulnerable to collapse. Jungle can become deserts, and rifts can become lifeless rocks. What makes ecosystems strong and another weak in the face of change? Well, the answer is simple: to a large extent of biodiversity. Biological diversity, or biodiversity, is the resource upon which families, communities, nations, and future generations depend. It is the link between all organisms on Earth, binding each into an interdependent ecosystem, in which all the species have their role. It is the web of life. Biodiversity, a contraction of biological diversity, means the abundance and variety of life on the planet. The definition encompasses more than just the creatures we can see. It ranges from tiny genes, bacteria, plants, and animals. While there are about 1.5 million identified species in the world, scientists estimate the true figure may be closer to 10 million or even as many as 2 billion. Many organisms are so small, they can only be identified as distinct species through DNA sequencing. If you think about biodiversity, you think about tigers and polar bears. Those species are very important, but also important are the species you never see and talk about. Without bees pollinating crops and trees turning carbon dioxide into oxygen, even basic human tasks such as eating and breathing becomes harder. But quieter losses hurt people too, such as the decline of medical plants and mangroves that protect coastlines. The ways in which organisms interact mean the decline of any single species can trigger unexpected losses in wider ecosystem. For instance, a fall in earthworms, fungi, or soil microbes limits the amount of recycled nutrients in the soil and the number of holes of rainwater to flow through, stunting crops' growth and hindering humanity's ability to feed itself. The three main problems that cause species extinction are: first, habitat loss; second, degradation; and the last is fragmentation. Habitat loss is described as the complete destruction of a habitat. Habitat degradation is when a habitat diminishes to a point where it can no longer support biological communities. And the third is habitat fragmentation. Is described as a habitat that is broken into smaller discontinuous segments of land for development. All of those three problems that result in species extinction are directly related to human influence. There is no clear way of determining the total impact that humans are making on biodiversity. However, it is obvious that many actions by humans are causing a decrease in biodiversity. To determine the total impact that humans are making on a given environment, the area of productive land and water needed to produce the item that is being consumed, and the need to account for the waste being generated by humanity must all be taken into account according to management and production practices in use during that time. Direct or indirect actions by humans have resulted into the decrease of biodiversity. The Convention of Biological Diversity states that there are both indirect and direct human drivers. Some of the indirect human drivers are demographic, economic, sociopolitical, scientific and technological, and cultural and religious factors. Some of the direct human drivers are changes in local land use and land cover, species introductions of removals, external inputs, harvesting, air and water pollution, and climate change. Human actions have also played a role in climate change, which is also causing great danger for biodiversity. The change in climate is due to increased atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide, which causes increased land and ocean temperature, and changes in precipitation and sea level rises. With the change in climate also comes a change in species. Climate affects the timing of reproduction and migration, the length of growing seasons, species distribution and population size, and the frequency of pest and disease outbreaks. Biodiversity is an issue that affects everyone, and therefore everyone should be aware of their effect on biodiversity. The Earth is facing a dual crisis of rapid climate change and unprecedented biodiversity loss. We are facing a monumental challenge, but not an insurmountable one. We can change course and bring the prospect of life back where the future seemed bleak. Therefore, there is a hope for the future, but we must act now. It is important to educate people on living in equilibrium with the environment. It is also important to make sure that the government is always making laws that will ensure biodiversity for the future and not focus on the short-sighted economics. Reaching these goals would help secure the land and water, plants and animals need to survive and create a sustainable world to benefit nature and humanity.